Yo, what up, High and Wide fam? I'm Delco Dave. I'm here with Nat and the most underappreciated Philadelphia Flyers icon ever, the incomparable Lauren Hart.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
Lauren,
That's
thank you so much for joining us. Nat, thank you for coming on with us. So disappointing in the end. But probably one of the better performances we've seen in the last couple of weeks. Lauren, what'd you think of the game tonight?
Well, obviously we just kind of fell apart within the matter of seconds there. Felt like going into the third period we were going to get this one, and it was feeling good because I knew Crosby was going to score against us. That 500 goal, I knew he wasn't going to let us out of that building without getting that. But I thought, you know what? If we win tonight, I'll feel a little bit better about the whole thing. And then this. But I'm still here. I'm still watching. Still my team. Yeah. Kind of disappointing. A little bit. A lot of it.
Nat, what about you?
No, like I feel the same. And I felt like the Flyers looked like they did years ago tonight. It was just such a great energy the whole entire game. I think that first Euro goal is, it really set everyone else off. And I think maybe Crosby scoring that 500 kind of lit a fire for the Flyers a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was kind of weird. Like I saw online where it's that's his 50th goal against us, but it feels more than 10%. I feel like he scores so many goals against us.
It feels like that.
Well, there was those years where they were doing 8 divisional games instead of the 6, so it felt like every season he was putting up 10 goals against us.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true. But when we used to play all those teams, if you looked at when they put up the stats with Mario Lemieux and the Penguins that had gotten 50 or 60 goals against a certain team, divisional play, we used to play these teams all the time, and we would have such a narrow lane for the teams we were against. So more goals against us, more goals for us. But yeah, it does definitely seem like more than 10% of his goals.
Yeah, he's only one away from Lemieux now.
Yep.
Which I feel like it'd be more than that, but
Yeah, right? It does.
Yeah, and that goal he scored tonight was so typical Crosby against us. The side of the net, and you're like, how did that go in?
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe Hart should have saved that. Maybe that was just, magic. That was just his skill that sent that in.
What? That looked like, it was that, and it looked like a typical Crosby goal. He seems to get those against us, those weird angles, and tonight was no different.
Yeah, well, Flyers betting Twitter felt the exact same way, how this game went, because everybody I saw was betting Crosby to score tonight. Every single Flyer, yeah, it's bound to happen. That's just a negativity that seems to surround the franchise right now.
Yeah,
which is a shame. It's a far fall from where we've been, and it's a rough season to talk about. But did either of you? I'll start with you, Lauren. Did you find any positives tonight? I thought they put up a bit of a fight, but who stood out to you tonight?
Well, I always I'm just such a Giroux fan, so I love seeing him get that goal right off the bat. And, he's the guy that, I think all season when I'm down there, and I'm really close to these guys, I see his intensity every game, and I see how much he wants to win. And so I'm glad that he jumped out and got us going first. But it did feel like, for this 2 periods, I went into the intermission going, okay, it really felt kind of good to be on this side, that side of the goal score. But yeah. And here we are. And here we are again. But, the positives, what are the positives? The positives I think are, right before we had this lockdown, this team was flying high. This team was really soaring and doing really, really well. And I thought even going into, when we had games with no fans and it was, that whole thing, I felt going into that we were going to do better than we did. But that whole thing just sort of threw us off the rails. So the positive is that it wasn't that long ago that we were like the winningest team in the NHL. If you can remember after Christmas going into 2020, it's not that long ago. So I always feel like there's a lot of ins and outs of hockey, and they're talking about why we're winning or why we aren't winning. And I think sometimes it's just that unsaid thing, it's just that chemistry, that vibe that gets going. And I liken it to, like, if I have a band, I can hire the best musicians. I can have all the best drummer and the number one guitar player, all that stuff. And it doesn't mean it's going to be a great show. It doesn't mean it's going to come off. And I feel like, in the NHL, there's so much talent. There's so much talent on our team, and so much untapped potential talent that, when you get into these things where it's hard to dig out of, I'll say, if I go out and I don't have my best night, the next night I'm coming out, I'm like a little hesitant, and if I have a couple nights where I'm not feeling great and I go into that third night, now I'm really scared to go out. So it's still like they're doing their thing and they're playing the game, but there definitely is that psychological, emotional impact, on players. And just as soon as that goes wrong, that can turn around and go really right. That switch can flip. How you get it to happen, I don't know, but it's just persistence and going out there. But yeah, for 2 periods tonight, I felt like back in the game, and watching the intro to your show and seeing all the people in the stands and those great moments when we were all in there, like I need to see and feel that again. I'm more than ready, and I'm sure everybody else is too.
Oh, we all want that, absolutely, 100%. And you're right. It was just 18 months, 20 months ago, we were one of the hottest teams in the league, 100%. I mean, so we have fallen far, but I don't think we're that far off. There's a lot of people that want to burn it down. You know what I mean? And try to start over again. And I don't know if we're at that point. Nat, how do you feel about tonight, or about, where we should go going forward?
Well, I mean, again, how many guys do we have injured? I mean, I don't know what you're burning down here. Just, wait for everyone to get healthy. And I really think, like, to what Lauren was saying, we're kind of like in this 2-year funk, kind of. And, and it's all of like this COVID, things are weird, and I think what we have right now could turn around in a second. But it's not going to happen, this season probably because of all the injuries. But we bring a lot of these guys back next season, and we could be a contender again.
Yeah, it is, and it's not like I feel like it's been a long stretch for us where we haven't been, the team that we've all expected the Flyers to be, and we've come to know. We always, like, growing up, I always felt like we went to a game, we were going to see a win. And we were going to get that energy. And, if we lost, that might happen every once in a while. But all in all, you were going to see a win and and you knew, like, at the end of the year, you were going to the playoffs. So I think that, the teams across the board, there's such parity in the skill of the teams and the skill of the athletes that it can turn around, in a couple years. It can, definitely.
Now, Lauren, I think it's safe to say that you've been attached to the Flyers franchise for basically your entire life. How would you compare this season to any other season that you've seen before? Where would you rank it as far as disappointing, frustrating? Like, is there any other kind of comparable season to it? Because there was so much hope after the moves that Chuck Fletcher made in the offseason. There was legit, like, Stanley Cup contender hopes there, and it's all fallen so flat. Is there another season that you saw it fall so fast?
There hasn't been another season that I've seen this before. I can remember being a kid and being really upset the Oilers beat us in the finals, but besides that heartbreak, no, I don't remember heartbreak like we're all feeling this year. And it's not just, it's not just the fans, everybody feels that. Everybody behind the scenes feels it, and everybody on the ice feels it. So we're kind of all on that ride together right now, unfortunately. But I have a strong belief in this team, and I have a strong belief in just hockey in Philly. So I feel like, our time's going to come again.
I absolutely love your optimism because I was carrying the optimism torch for a while over
Yeah.
here, and I was having a hard time maintaining it all by myself. So I'm happy to hear the positivity there. But Nat, what do you think? You've been a fan for a long time. How would you compare this season to the seasons you witnesses? Like disappointment, frustration. What are you
Well, I
feeling?
mean, it's completely different than anything I've ever seen. Like, again, you've always expected the Flyers to win, or at least, be in contention.
Mhm.
For how many years, the past how many years, we've made the playoffs every other year. So every season we went into a season thinking, oh man, we could really, do well this year. And we felt that way this year too. But I mean, I never expected to be at the bottom of the division with what we had.
No.
And I like you look at it on paper and you say, oh, we have a good team, and I there's no answers to it. I don't want to say it's lack of effort. I don't want to say there's just something not going right. I mean, the goaltending is great, and that was an issue last year. So I mean, you can't pinpoint anything.
Yeah, it just it just seems like the harder we try, the more it breaks it, right now. I feel like the tension is so high, and the expectation is on right now. And so, it just feels like almost overworking and over trying. And when you get like that, the game doesn't seem to flow anymore. It just feels like everyone's holding on for dear life, really. And you don't get into that groove that when you see a team that's clicking, what they get. You're not never getting to that place. So it's kind of stunning, actually. And I think, just looking up at the stats that were going up, I want to say we're 15 and 24, 25. Is it something like that? Maybe it's even more, like 30. Oh,
Yeah,
but it's really like, yeah.
15, 24, and 9.
Yep, close, yeah.
Yeah.
So
15, 24, and 9. So yeah, no, I don't think it's as bad as 06, 07,
yeah,
which was a rough season. But that was
yeah,
the Forsberg season where I felt like most of the team was just watching Forsberg make plays and wait for him to make something happen.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was weird. Everybody wouldn't move. You would just watch this one superstar trying to carry the whole team.
Yeah.
And you know what? I mean, Giroux's not Forsberg, I guess, but maybe it's kind of the same thing. Like who else is really there to help Giroux carry this along? And Forsberg ended up leaving. How do we feel about Giroux leaving? Like, we've got the trade deadline coming up. I feel like this guy, probably the most iconic player in Flyers history besides Bobby Clark. I mean, Clark, Perrant, like Giroux's right up there with them. And he might be out of here. How do you guys feel about Giroux possibly going out of town?
I hate it. I think he's an amazing player, and I think he's so deserving of having that opportunity to win that cup. So in that respect, if like Kimmo Timonen, he got to go to a team and got to really live out that dream, I would be happy for him. But as a fan of the game, and as a fan specifically of our team, I hate to see him go. It's sad to me. I didn't like hearing it on the broadcast tonight saying, oh, this is probably the last goal he'll score against the Penguins as a Flyer. And I was like, wait, stop. He's not going yet. Like, hold on a second.
He hasn't left yet.
No, don't.
You still got to find a good deal for him.
Yeah. So, yeah, for me personally, I'm sad to see him go, but I'm always sad to see players, come and go. Growing up, my dad always said he was like the constant there, and players would come and go and he'd still be there. But it was always hard, to make these friendships and relationships. And, even if you're not personally, connected to a player or anything, you feel like you know them. As a fan, you feel like you have a relationship, and you don't, they're part of they're yours, they're Philly, so it'll be interesting to see what happens, and I hope whatever it is, it turns out really good for him, because he deserves it.
And you carried that on. You've been the constant over all this turnover. You carried on your father's legacy in that way, I think. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's I always think about if he were around what he would say because I I heard it from his perspective for my entire life, what it felt like and how he'd come home like just devastated if they would lose, and everything was, it revolved around hockey. And now I'm kind of in that world where it's sort of like everything revolves around hockey right now. I'm invested, my family's invested, and we're all in 100% on this ride. So I feel lucky though. I feel lucky that I get to be part of it and that I've been able to be part of it for as long as I have.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
But Nat, what do you feel about Giroux possibly exiting from the Flyers franchise?
I mean, it's very sad, but I mean, I want the best for him too. He needs to win a Stanley Cup, and I don't know if he's going to do it here with how much time he has left.
Yeah.
So, and if he wants it too, I just, hope they send him to a Western Conference team, which it seems like they're trying to do. So
I'm with you. No Tampa Bay, nothing like that.
Not the Rangers. Nobody wants to see him in a Rangers.
No.
I want to be able to cheer him. I want him to be like, how Richards and Carter went over to the Kings, and we can be, oh yeah, Flyers West, let's go. I want like to cheer on a Western Conference team again.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Maybe the Avs. That would be all right. I'd be okay with that.
Well, listen, there's an unnamed, an anonymous Avs commentator that came on our show recently.
Okay.
That basically said that Giroux was only worth a bottom roster forward and maybe a prospect, but we wouldn't fetch a pick for him. So if that's all the Avalanche is valuing Giroux at, I have no interest in trading him to the Avalanche.
There you go. Absolutely.
Yeah. Call up Minnesota and be like, yo, listen, they don't want him. Here you go. We'll set something up and we can knock him out.
Yeah.
It's got to be hard too, because if you send him to a good team right now, there's probably teams that are thinking, if it's not broke, don't fix it, and you can't bring in, a legendary player from, one team and mix it up. You don't know what will happen.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's plenty of success. Rob Blake did it. Jerome McGinley did it. Like there's a track record for Marian Hossa did it 3 times.
Yeah.
Marian Hossa literally went to 3 different teams and took them to Stanley Cup Finals. Like there's a track record for bringing in a superstar player, explaining the role to him. Be like, hey, listen, this is what we're bringing you in for. This is what you're going to do. We're going to go win a cup. And if that player wants to win, he goes, yeah, all right, let's do it. I'll go do that. I'll play some third line. I'll be a power play specialist. Let's go win a cup. So, I mean, I don't know. In my opinion, I don't know any contender that wants to set themselves apart and, put themselves over the hump. Who else can get besides Claude Giroux? There's nobody else at this deadline available that's in the same stratosphere as Claude Giroux. I mean, unless you two see it differently, do you either one of you have somebody else?
Nobody else. Nobody else. Yeah.
I think the numbers are something like since Claude Giroux entered the league, I want to say he's top 5 among active players all time scored. It's like Crosby, Ovechkin, Kane, and Giroux. Like that's it. Like those are the guys. That's the class he's in right there. There's no way that you're trading for anybody better than Claude Giroux at the trade deadline.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I think it's the class of the 2005. Am I wrong about that? I think it's 2005. But all the guys that came in around the time that he came in, he's at the top. He's at the top of of all the stats with all those guys. So yeah, I see him as that kind of player too. Anybody that would get him would be lucky to have him.
Exactly. There's no way you're getting him for a bag of puck. So if that's where Colorado values him, I have no interest in that. I have no interest in any of that.
Well, we will soon find out whether we want to or not. We will soon know what's going down.
I don't know. What if he just doesn't leave? How would you guys feel if just Giroux stays? What if he goes, you know what? I don't want to leave. If we're not going to Colorado, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to stick around. Well, what do you guys think about him signing on for 4 more years, 5 more years?
I wouldn't know if I would say 4 or 5 more years, but as long as he's happy, I would like to see him stick around, but if he wants to go win a cup, fine. But right now he's the best player on our team still.
Yeah.
So I can't be like, oh, let's get rid of him, especially if I don't know what we're getting back right now. I mean, I might feel differently, you know, at the deadline, but but I don't think we're gonna have that great of a deal. So I mean, it's just gonna be you grow attached to people. So
Yeah.
I'd like to keep him around.
Yeah, it's true.
That's fantastic. I feel like all three of us are in agreement about keeping Giroux in town because normally when I do these shows, I'm in the minority when I say, I'd rather him just stick around and sign 3-year deal, 4-year deal, and let's retool and go do it again.
Well, yeah, I don't know who's going to take his place on the team currently. Like who would be that role? He's such a dominant force on the ice. Just as a leader in his presence.
Mm-hmm.
So who is that next guy?
Actually, no, that's a good thing for you, Lauren. So you've been around the team for so long, around this franchise for a long time. If Giroux left, who would you compare him to that would be leaving, and who would step into his place? Like, who in the past reminds you of Claude Giroux, and has there been anybody that's stepped up after that person left?
That's a good question, but like Nat, I feel like Giroux is like Brind'Amour. He's a flyer. He's a flyer all the way through. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about some of the other players exemplifying that same thing. And it's really hard to judge, particularly this season, because it's just been rough on everybody. So there's no standout that you go, oh, well, this guy would obviously, pick up the mantle there. Only the guys in the locker room would probably make a fair assessment of who that really would be. But to the outsider, to the fan, or to the onlookers, the people that watch, I don't think there's a particular one person.
Do you think there's someone with a style of play that you think is good leadership besides Giroux? Is there someone who stands out when they play?
I really like Provorov. I don't know what he's like inside the locker room. I know everybody loves Kevin Hayes, but we haven't got to see a lot of him this year, and I don't feel like he's quite got that flyer. Okay, you're a flyer. I don't feel like he's gotten there yet. As far as just connecting with the entire organization, the fan base, and that whole thing. So, you know what? Right off the top of my head, there isn't an instant person I go, yeah, it's that guy.
What do you think about Cam Atkinson, even though he's new here? Because when he came to the city, he was like Bryce Harper of the Phillies, embracing everything Philly as soon as he came in. Do you think he has potential to be that guy?
I don't. That's a good question. Honestly, I don't know. Is he up to that level? Yeah, he's up. He's up to that level. That he's the kind of guy that could do it. But I just don't. I don't know that. I don't know enough about him, and I haven't seen him in our situation in a good way. In a totally good way yet. So it's hard to really judge who that's going to be, and how that would happen.
On a bad team, somebody has to be good. So if he's, good in one season,
yeah.
How do you know he's going to perform when we're actually playing to what is supposed to be our standard?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. If it were so obvious, that would have been on the table already. We would have been talking about that. That would have been in the conversations that everyone's having on television about Giroux leaving and how this goes forward. I don't think anyone really has come out with a really super strong opinion on that yet. But things change in an instant, so we'll find out. We will find out.
How's the vibe in the arena? Do you feel something different at the moment?
Yeah, it's it's really not great. I have to say, the last home game when I came out, like you could just hear a pin drop. And no, I don't say that in a good way, like respectfully. Oh, it's the anthem. Let's get ready. But it's, I felt like that kind of quiet silence that is unnerving and sort of, like, oh, I don't know. People were just kind of like, oh, flat. I think everything's just flat. Like, in general, but I do feel like the fans, like at any given moment, give them a little something and they're right back in it, but the vibe this year has just been tough, and I think it's just overall the last, like you said, the last 18 months we have not weathered that 18 months well, at all. And that is part of what's going on. It's just a part of it, but it's like all those things coming together that haven't served us well. And if whatever you're feeling, that's what everybody's feeling from the top to to the last guy to leave the arena. So it's kind of not the best.
Yeah, like, I don't know like how much you follow Twitter or anything,
Mhm.
but do you think fans with all the paper bags on their head and stuff, you think that's a little harsh? Like, you think it's helping at all?
Well, yeah. I mean, I totally understand, like, the absolute, like, people that are into this have invested their hearts into this thing. And, like, everyone asks me, what other sports? Do you like other sports? And I'm like, no, there's no other room for anything else for me, because I can't emotionally take putting another, having that, like, just, I got to have this team win. I can't do that more than once. I only got room for one. But, I do think that, it just kind of feels lost right now, in general. And I think we just need to, like, have a good break and regroup and kind of start again. And I don't know that necessarily means tearing this whole everything apart. I do watch Twitter. I try not to sometimes, but no, I do watch. And yeah, I mean, people are upset, and right, and rightly so. People work really hard and they pay a lot of money to come to games, and they spend their time and they put everything into it too. I would say, like we were talking about, when you're the constant over a number of years and things keep changing, what doesn't change really are the fans and the generations of fans. So, if you're going to hockey games and you're really into it, it means your dad probably was, or somebody in your family was, or your brother or your sister, so it's kind of generational, and the fans are the constant. The fans are the ones that are hopefully always there, not always as of late, but are really always there. So it's really an integral part of the whole thing. It's not like, it's not as far apart as you might think it is. Yeah, the guys are on the ice and they're doing the work, they're doing the lifting, but the fans that are there over years and over seasons and generations are really, really significant and really important. And so when they feel like putting a bag over their head, I might personally not do that, but I understand people's frustrations and I understand how upset they are.
There's definitely a unique. Flyers fans are a strange, like, we're almost kind of like a family. We don't know each other personally, but it's kind of like a family. It's always been that way. And I guess you credit someone like Ed Snyder or something like that for the way that we are.
Yeah. I think, I think I think this is just this is a hockey city. This is a hockey area. I have a little boy and he's just getting into hockey. So I'm talking all the way from, like, down to little tiny kids, on the ice, and families driving their kids to rinks. This in the country is like a hockey hotspot. This is where people are really into it, really committed, and it's part of people's lives. It's part of people's families' lives, and they go to games to see it, as entertainment, and the professionals too. But we're a family because we love hockey, and we've stuck with it for all this time. So it does feel connected.
Now, Lauren, you mentioned that lately it's felt like you could hear a pin drop when you come into the arena.
Yeah.
What are some of your best moments that when you did come out and you could feel the energy and it was, the kind of pride and the enthusiasm when you walked out there?
Yeah. Well, I think early on, it was in 2000, and that's going back a ways now. But it's kind of like the beginning of when I kind of was really into it. And for me, it was like I had a personal struggle going on at the time, but walking out onto the ice and the players that were part of the team at that time, and just getting to the end of the season and going as deep into the playoffs as we did, that I feel like those games were just electrified. It was so transformational for me personally during that season. And to have the team, just barely miss getting to the top was tough, but it was really on fire. It was such a great time. And then I always loved 2010 because, I was that last game against the Rangers, I was walking out of the building and then, we obviously scored and came back and went on to have a really great run in the playoffs. So those games were great. Playoff games are, opening night is always great. It's like that jitters, that big, first night, and then playoffs. Anytime we're in playoffs, you can feel it. I don't know how to describe it, but like when I'm in that tunnel way, I don't even have to see people because I don't like to look before I go out because it makes me nervous. So, but even before I come around that corner, you can kind of just feel the energy. I don't know what it is, but you can definitely feel it, when people are feeling good and everything's clicking, everything's working like we hope it would.
Now, when there's that quiet before you start the anthem and it's real quiet, and then you hear some random person yell, "I love you, Lauren." Do you hear that? Or do you
I hear all of it and I love it.
Oh, that's
because, people are like, "Do you get nervous?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do," because it is, a really tough song, and it's the moment where everybody's eyes are on you. It's quiet, there are very few moments that are like that, where it's just one person and like, oh my gosh, so I love when people do that because I think it just like, no pun intended, but yes, it breaks the ice for me. And I just, when I'm just like, oh, okay, people are on my side, kind of feeling like, all right, you're on my side and I'm going to do this, it's going to feel great. So I hear it and I love it.
Well, that's great.
I can't tell you how many people have come up to me and said that they were the ones that started it.
No, I was going to say that's great because twice a year I do it, so you're welcome.
There you go. I fully credit you.
Do you love the days that you get to sing "O Canada"? Because I love that song.
Yeah, right? I do.
Like, would you prefer singing? Is that easier?
It is. It is.
You can sing both. Still, I mean,
yes to both. Yeah, it's just it is. It's just more like it's a more melodic song. The way that it's written, it's just a prettier kind of like sing song kind of thing. And so I like doing both.
I get excited for that song every time I see
the
Canadian team.
I know. Yeah, there's like when I come in, like all the guards and everything, they're like, "Oh, 2 songs tonight." So they get, like people are aware when I get to do 2. So, but yeah, double nervous and double fun.
No,
do you have
sorry. No, go ahead.
Do you have like a favorite era that you've like worked in? So you've been there since like '97. Is there like is there like the Lindros Leclerc era, or is it is that?
I think probably like the Primo, Keith Primo, Ronick, Simone Gagne. During that time, Justin Williams. Those were great times. That's that was sort of more when I was like really more connected to the players, like age wise and socially, more part of everything that was going on there. So that was, I loved those guys. I thought they had just great energy and were a lot of fun, a lot of fun. And definitely Eric too. But I think that like that Brian Boucher, all those guys in that sort of time were amazing.
Bush made me want to be a goalie. His save against Patrick Elias in the Eastern Conference Finals made me be a goalie. I've been playing hockey for 3 years. He makes that save. I'm like, nope, that's what I want to do. My mother's face you could see the color drain out of it. She goes, I got to buy a whole bunch of new equipment. You could see it fade from her face.
No parent wants their kid to be the goalie. I guess there are some, but in general, we're like, no, don't shoot pucks at my kid. No.
So I was doing some research for the show, and Lauren, you performed with the man Frank Sinatra at one point.
Yes, I did.
I found that to be I was like, I had no idea that had happened. Can you please tell me about that and what that was like?
So, well, I mean, before coming to the Flyers, I was living in France, and I had this really great gig at this theater in Monte Carlo, where I was sort of like the opening act, and every weekend a new artist would come in, and I'd open the show, and then I'd get to know them and get to, connect and everything. And sure enough, he came one weekend. He was there, and it was like, there were all sorts of people that had come in from, I don't know, everybody's been there at the time. It was like Whitney Houston and Diana Ross, just everybody, that you could think of, would play at this theater out there. But he was like just such a legend, and he was everything like that you would think he is, like from that era, just smooth talking. And, I think he actually, when talking to me, he was talking about gams, if you know. Gams, like legs. I was like, does anybody really say that? Isn't it like,
got some nice gams, Lauren.
But he was like talking about gams. I'm like, oh, thank you, and I was just like, yeah, but it was great, it was kind of later in his career. But he was certainly like just amazing. It's those moments you get to have as a musician, as an artist, are just super cool.
I bet. Like I said, I did a double take when I was looking at it. I was like, I'm like Lauren Hart was with Frank Sinatra. That's I got to know that's incredible. So it was over in France. How long were you over in France? And who else did you perform with while you were over there?
Oh my gosh. Like so many people. I can't even think. Michael Jackson and Diana Ross and everybody was like, it just like everybody in that sort of era of the late 80s, early 90s. It was kind of like my first gig away from home. And it was just, it was like, it was really a dream come true. It was like, just, I felt so fortunate to be there and to have all that. And it was very cool. I was just eventually wanted to just come back to the States and do my own music and stop, playing with other people, which was a great experience as a first experience, but I kind of wanted to do my own thing. And that's what kind of brought me back here to this area. And I had actually moved to LA and was living out there, and sort of ended up back in Philly around the time that my dad had gotten inducted into the Hall of Fame, and came to sing for him because they were honoring him that night. And then just, here I am. Here I am. The plane did not take off again. Well, it was great.
Well, that's a pretty good first gig if that was like your first job. Because I worked at McDonald's for my first job. I don't know what Nat did for her first job.
Sesame Place.
Wasn't over in the French Riviera hanging out with Frank Sinatra and Whitney Houston.
It was pretty cool. I have to say, it was. It was very cool. Really, really great opportunity. And it's fun. I think who was over there? Well, they weren't performing, obviously, but one night the Dream Team, like the basketball team with Magic Johnson and all those guys, came out. And the theater was sort of on top of this nightclub, which is worldwide super famous. And so after the shows, everybody would go downstairs and around to this club. And I mean, you had everybody from, like the Dream Team and these fabulous artists. And then you would have the Prince of Monaco and the Princess of Monaco come in, and it was just like, what is happening here? Is this my life? Is this weird, wild? And it was a really great time. It was a really great time.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Yep. That's one for the books.
Hey, Nat, did you meet any prince or princess on your first job?
No, I cleaned bathrooms at a theme park, so no, I did not meet any. They once sent around a note saying Jimmy Smits is in the park, and that's the only time a celebrity was ever there.
Our brushes with greatness. Our brushes with fame. That's funny. That's great. Jimmy Smith is in the park. All right, that's a good line. We'll file that one away. I like that.
that was fantastic.
Yeah.
But you mentioned you came back and then you sang for your father when he's inducted into the Hall of Fame. So, do you have any stories about your father that maybe we haven't heard before?
Oh my God.
Anything that's not public knowledge, anything that might be personal to you?
Well, yeah, you know what? And this is crazy. This was actually after my dad had passed away, but I got this letter. I got this letter from someone who was telling me about that they had been in a really bad car wreck, and really, it was really bad, and they were on the side of the road and out of car and everything, and that, somebody wasn't in a busy place, and somebody stopped, and somebody came over and sort of stayed with that person on the ditch in the side of the road. They were really messed up, and he was so grateful that there was somebody else there. And he looked at the guy who had his hands on him and saw the ring, Stanley Cup ring, and it was my dad. And that my dad had just been there at that time and stayed with that person to make sure they were okay. And to me, that was just like, so my father, everybody knows him for for the Stanley Cup calls and for teaching Philly hockey and all these great things. But for me, those are the moments that really show who he was. He was just such a good person, a great person. And he was a genuine person, for all that he accomplished and all that he did. And he was just a genuine, real guy. And so all those stories that I love, people come up and say, hey, your dad spoke at my high school, or your dad was my history teacher. Because for a long time, he taught school and called hockey games. He was a high school teacher. And I loved catching those moments about him. And then the other thing I would think of off the top of my head was that he was a closet singer, and that, he would have had he gone off in the music business, he would have probably never, known hockey, because he really loved music and really loved singing. And I think that was kind of like, my mom will say that he loved that more than hockey. That I find hard to believe, but that was his secret thing, that he wanted to be a singer.
Well, and that had influence on you, I would assume, right?
Yeah, because we always had music in the house, and his mom was a singer. So,
I see. I didn't know that. So your grandmother was a singer. Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was a singer, and they were entertainers and performers, and up in New York. And my grandfather was a Broadway show producer, and did all sorts of things in the entertainment business. And so the fact that he got into hockey, was a little bit of a break from the traditional entertainment crazy that we were into, but still in the public eye, and still kind of a performing kind of thing. So yeah, it's passed down, in our family, definitely.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. And the last thing that I can think of, things that people did not know about him. I don't know if I should even tell this story, but okay. So, when he was a little boy, he grew up in New York City, and his first and most favorite team was the Rangers, honestly. And he used to go as a kid. I know, these are the secrets. But he used to go as a kid to these games, and that's how he knew he wanted to be a hockey announcer, and he grew up in that city, and he would get on the train and go to the Madison Square Garden, and go see hockey games. And I think that when he sent his audition tape in to Ed Snyder to sort of get this gig, I think that it was him calling a Rangers game. He had gone up to the Garden, and I think took a tape recorder or whatever he had done to just, show what he could do. And that kind of got him the gig. And then forever, and ever, never a New York Rangers fan again,
But,
and only ever a Flyers fan. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to be a Flyers fan when they don't exist yet. So
yeah.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. There you go. So yes, there's that too.
I'm not gonna lie, I can't give them too much crap because when I was growing up,
Yeah.
I was a Cowboys fan until I was about 12 years old. But then I learned how to talk to girls, and I became an Eagles fan.
That's always strange story there.
Really, Jim?
Like, Lauren, how do you feel? Like, I was talking to my dad, and he was saying the greatest like moment in Philadelphia sports for him. Your dad saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup." Like, how does that make you? Does that ever get old? Are you sick of hearing about that, or is it, like, is that always? You love hearing that from fans all the time?
Oh no! Did we lose Lauren?
I think we did.
Well, we had a good run. It was 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would have been a great question, though, if we could have had a follow-up.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I thought it was good. I thought it was a good show, good conversation.
Yeah. She's awesome.
Yeah, she was fantastic. Anyway, I mean, I got nothing else from that. Anything you got?
No, just hopefully that we do this after a win.
Oh, Lauren's back. Hold on.
There I
Lauren, you're back. Lauren, you're back.
I'm back. Magic. Just like that. Yeah, I got disappeared.
Well, anyway, Nat was in the middle of asking you a question, so.
Well, no, I was saying, like, I was talking to my dad, and he says the greatest moment for him as a Philadelphia sports fan was hearing your dad say, "Ladies and gentlemen, the Flyers are going to win the Stanley Cup." Yeah. Like, does that ever, when you hear people say that to you, does that get old ever, or does it make you happy? Never?
Never. And, I'm so sentimental, I will watch till the cup is put on the ice every season, regardless of whether we're there or not, because I really love hockey. But hockey, NHL makes the greatest commercials of old sports memories and the triumph of victory and all that stuff. And inevitably it will be my dad's voice on, part of the clip. And it just I get tears every single time. It's just such an iconic moment. And it for me, it transcends so many different things, but to hear him make that call and know that there was that time, it's really emotional. And I will never get tired of it. Never. Yeah. And people are like, don't live in the past. And, I don't think Flyers fans, holding on to something that's good, not a bad thing, remembering when we were the best gives you hope that you can be the best again, So it's kind of like they do go together. You don't have to erase everybody and everything that was to have what's now. Right. So I just think that's a very hopeful moment, that we had that, and we will hopefully have that again. That's my goal. If I have anything to say about it, which I don't, but I'll be there hopefully.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right. And honestly, we're not that far off. People talk about the Detroit Red Wings streak of the playoff appearances. Yeah. We were right there with them. We were just one behind them for all those years, for a long time. And it's only been the last, 6 to 10 years where it seems like we're not a perennial contender, but we used to always be at least in the conference semifinal. So, the standard of the Flyers franchise is not that much of a distant memory. It might feel like that now, but it's not.
No. And I think, when you go through rough times like now, it's kind of good that you have some things to hold on to, because you do love hockey, you are invested in it, and you're invested in this team. And, like everyone's like, oh, you are the optimist, but what's your choice? What's the choice? You're either in or you're not in, and if you're not in, don't complain about it, just get on board. I mean, it's disappointing when things don't go your way, but if, for people like your dad who had that moment and heard that call, that always makes me think like we'll get ours, we'll get to see it one day. I hope, I hope we'll be able to see it. I keep thinking the answer to that is yes, we will. So, I think those are magic things.
I think our call was Patrick Kane scoring against Michael Leighton in Game 6.
Did that goal even happen? I still don't know if I saw it or not. I don't know if I did. It just
that may have been one of the most memorable playoff runs for any franchise ever in the history of any sports.
Yeah.
3 different goalies starting games, 2 different injuries, like that making the playoffs on the last game of the season, the shootout.
Yeah.
That whole run was totally magic. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I was there in the stadium when David Krejci got injured against in the Wells Fargo Center when the Flyers went down 3-0 to the Boston Bruins. And then I was back there again to watch on the big screen when we came back and won it in Game 7.
Yeah.
And the reverse sweep. So, I mean, it's not like this team hasn't given us memories over the years. You know what I mean?
We just need more. We want more.
Of course
we need more. I was at those games up in Boston too, and that was just unreal. That was like, talk about a great moment. That was the plane ride home was like the happiest bunch of people you've ever seen. Being down 3-0 and 3-0 in the game up in Boston, and then coming back and then making it to the end. Oh, that was spectacular. Really was.
Oh yeah. You think the team was happy? You should have saw the parking lot that night.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go to work that night. I was supposed to work 3rd shift. I was supposed to go into work. And I say supposed to because I didn't go.
You were in the parking lot.
Yeah, exactly. You would have thought we won the cup that exact night. You would have thought we won the cup that night.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. That's why when you have those moments, you got to hold on to them, because, even when you do get to the end, even you do get to the cup, it's not over. You start again the next season and you want the cup again, and you want it just as much. And if you don't get it, you're going to be just as upset and put a bag over your head and all that other stuff, so it's you want everything right now, but it's the whole ride. It's just being on the ride, which is really fun. This year, not so much, but in general, I'll make that general statement.
All right, so we're pushing close to the 55-minute mark, close to the hour mark. Lauren, do you have anything you would like to hype up, discuss, put out there? Anything you want to promote?
Well, sure. Well, first, I just want to say all those fans that do yell, I love you. I want to say that I love you back even more. I'm just so grateful. I'm really grateful that I get to do what I do, and that I've gotten to meet the fans the way that I have and been part of the family there in all ways. So I'm just, I want to say thank you to all the great fans and all the people that are part of this. And what do I want to say? What do I want to plug? I've got some, when I'm not singing "Oh Say Can You See," I actually am an artist full time. And Spotify, I have new music coming out, actually a new EP next week. And, I play shows. And so check that out. All the info is usually up on there. And, if I don't see you in the arena, hopefully I'll see you, in a arena or a theater somewhere or a club, and you will find out that I do, in fact, know more than 2 songs. Even though I like to say that my first hit single is that national anthem. But yeah, music full time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, Lauren. Nat, do you have anything you want to put out?
No, I have nothing to plug. I'm good.
Lauren,
Don't give up, fans. Don't give up.
Yes.
Well, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you
For
for coming out.
special guest, Lauren Hart. For Nat, I'm Delco Dave. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out with us. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.